It's always an honor and a pleasure when our next guest stops by. Please welcome the 42nd President of the United States of America and new grandpa, President Bill Clinton. Mr. President, how are you?
Good. I miss you. I'm glad to see you.
I know. I haven't seen you in a long time. I just think you're just so super terrific, and it's good to see you again.
Thank
and congratulations, you're a grandpa.
It's amazing. You know, Hillary and I only have one child, and she's quite wonderful, but it's been a long time since she was that age. And so the biggest hoot for me, my granddaughter turned 6 weeks on Friday, is, you know, watching them wake up to the world. For 3 weeks, kids can't see very much. So you got to hold them, talk to them, and all that. And then their vision goes from here, and it starts for 3 weeks to 3 months. It just gets out. And so she almost doesn't have time to laugh. She never cries. She just soaks things up. And I think, God, if my mind would work like that, I'd be so happy. She's just a sponge of taking everything in. It's a hoot.
Well, that must be the most wonderful thing, too. And then you can also go away. You don't have to take care of her full time. You're the grandpa, so you can get that part and then leave.
I don't mind that. You know, I told Chelsea that she would never hear me repeat the bromide about being a grandparent's better than being a parent, because you get all the joys, none of the responsibilities. I like being a parent, too. But it's a great feeling. And, you know, it's part of the rhythm of life. It helps you come to terms in a really positive way with, you know, your own mortality and the way things go. It's just a joyful experience. I love it. I'm so happy.
Her name is Charlotte.
Her name is Charlotte.
And when Hillary is with her, is she presidential with her, or is she more grandmotherly?
She's doting, giddy, deliriously happy grandmother.
Who spoils her more?
We haven't had much spoiling time. You know, we're both under, I told Hillary, right, when we were going to the hospital for Chelsea to give birth, I said, now, we have to remember this is not our child. And we have to show up when we're invited and do what we're asked. But I suppose we'll have a chance to spoil her, but we haven't yet. She's too busy soaking things up. She only notices us as we give her something useful to do, like grab hold of our hand or something. The most interesting thing to me is kids instinctively work their hands, you know. And they learn early that 90% of life is just hanging on. And the trick is not to forget it when you really need to remember that.
Good point. Good point. That's amazing. Yeah, she seems precious. But let's get to something very important. I gave you a picture of myself when you were here last, and I'm just wondering which room you hung it in.
Actually, you got a picture of it?
Yeah.
Show it.
Yeah, it's a portrait of you actually. Now, you just hung that.
There it is, yes.
No, you just hung that for the photo. It's not really in there. You just did it as a joke. Tell me the truth. It's not in there all the time.
It's not in there all the time.
All right.
I don't have enough. You need to give me a smaller picture, and I'll have it all the time. You know?
All right.
I don't have the wall space.
All right. I'll give you a smaller one. So can we talk about your amazing foundation and your library and everything good that you're doing? The foundation, first of all, for those of you who, I don't know if you don't know about it, you do so many good things. If you could say one thing you're most proud of with the foundation, what would it be?
That the Clinton Global Initiative has given a network of opportunity for other people to give and to bring their ideas. So I bring them together, and we've had 10 of them now, and we've raised about $90 billion worth of commitments, and we can document 430 million lives.
Wow.
In 180 countries that have been helped.
Wow.
But I'm also proud of the fact that our Health Access Initiative has provided contracts for 8.6 million people to stay alive with AIDS. We're 75% of all the kids on earth that gets this medicine get it through the contracts we negotiated. We're building healthcare systems in poor countries. We've got a great program in Rwanda, an interesting one in Zambia. We've worked in Ethiopia. If all the Ebola countries had healthcare systems that worked, all this hysteria would never have happened. The real problem is they don't have the systems we take for granted. Look what happened here. No, the only person who's died with Ebola in the United States was a Liberian citizen who was gravely ill when he got here. The two nurses who were not properly covered, who contracted it, have been released. They're Ebola-free. The doctor who got it serving, bless his heart, almost certainly will recover. We got to build these poor countries' systems so they don't need us anymore. If you look at Nigeria, they had an Ebola case. Within 36 hours, 500 doctors went to, I think, 19,000 homes, and they contained it, and it was over. And Liberia has 4.1 million people, a country founded by freed American slaves. So we have a special responsibility there, I think. They had 53 doctors when the Ebola epidemic broke out for 4.1 million people.
Wow.
So I love that. I love what we're doing there, and I love what we're doing here.
You do so much. It's amazing when I think about how busy you are, and still you have time, I understand, to watch TV, which is amazing to me because...
I do. Well, you know, I had a wife with a traveling job for a while, so I was home alone a lot.
So you're watching Scandal?
I do watch it some. I love anything Shonda Rhimes does.
Isn't she amazing?
Yeah, I
she
still watch Grey's
woman.
Anatomy. I'm a devoted
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy fan.
Yeah.
And I like this, How to Get Away with Murder.
Uh-huh.
I like Scandal. I like House of Cards. Kevin Spacey's a very close friend of mine.
House of Cards.
But, you know, I really like Kerry Washington, and her husband, Nnamdi Asomugha, is a good close friend of ours and a friend of the foundation and a remarkable human being. But the thing about Scandal and House of Cards that makes it fun to watch is that I can't imagine that either a President Spacey or the President's Chief of Staff on Scandal could really get away with murder. I wish I'd known about that when I was in office. I mean, there were, you know, think of all the opportunities
So many
I missed.
people to get rid of.
So little time, so many people that have it coming. You know,
He's
it's
so
just,
easy.
Yeah, crazy.
That's the only thing that's ridiculous about that show. I can't imagine. He's drinking all the time, and he's always pouring small amounts, but the president is always drinking during the night. I'm like, how is he not asleep right now? We have to take a break, and when we come back, you have big news about Hillary Clinton, which you don't want to miss. We are back with President Bill Clinton, and I understand you want to make a big announcement about your wife today.
She's the happiest grandmother in the world. No, we were talking. I do want to say something seriously, but I don't know what Hillary's going to do. That's true. If I did, I wouldn't tell you, but I don't know. But all this looks different when we've been so blessed. You know, we've had a wonderful life. We've had a chance to serve. Whatever she wants to do, I'm for. She's the ablest public servant I ever worked with, but I'm more interested now that I have a granddaughter than I ever have been in this project she and Chelsea started at our foundation called Too Small to Fail. Because in general, if nothing changes in America, when my granddaughter goes to kindergarten, she will have heard 30 million more words than the child of a working mother who works for modest earnings, gets up at 5:30 every day, takes her kid to daycare, and it's all she can say grace over to pay the rent, the utilities, and put clothes on her kids' back and food on the table. So this is really a big deal. I want to urge you all. We've got to convince parents everywhere and help them to read to their children, to talk to their children, and we ought to have more universal access to preschool because it really affects what these kids can learn and how quickly and well they can learn when they get in school. It's one simple, not very expensive thing that we ought to get bipartisan agreement on, and we just ought to do in America because we know now what a difference it makes to our kids.
It does, for them to have access to so much stimulation. Well, All right, so you're not going to tell us if Hillary is going to run or not, but I'm just saying if you only had one, if you could only... If you could only pick one, because I can't afford to give you both.
Well, if I picked that one, it would be best for the country. If I picked, however, if I did that, then Hillary would start taking me up to total strangers and saying, "Have you met my first husband?" Because it's not a decision for me to make. If I picked that one, she would be happy as a clam, and so would I. So keep them both and give her the right one when she decides.
Either way, you're going to be the first husband if you take this, because you understand that, right?
Yeah.
You'd be the first husband.
Yeah, I'll tell you, since I'm always campaigning for the parties to get together and agree on something, President Bush, 43, who became a grandfather just a few weeks before I did, told me something on which there was complete agreement. He said, the most important thing you have to remember when you become a grandfather is that you immediately fall to last place on the family hierarchy.
Well, I'm going to give you both. And also, should she go out on the campaign trail, I assume Chelsea's going to go with her, and that means Charlotte's going to go, so we want her to travel in style. So Charlotte has her own little...
Oh, my God.
The first baby.
That's too cool.
That's great. All right, so we'll hold this up.
And it's a made in America car. Let's get that clear.
Yeah.
Very important, since the auto industry's coming back, that you're contributing to it.
Well, let's see what happens, and I guess we'll find out when we find out. Go to our website to learn more about the Clinton Foundation and what you can do to help. I urge you to go. There's so much good that comes from that. We'll be back after this.